is the Frenchville Heritage Park, located in the town of Frenchville, Maine. Once, a row of potato storage houses lined the railroad tracks. Over time, the potato houses became outdated and left to decay. In 2015, a committee of Frenchville residents approached the town with a willingness to clean up and beautify the area. The town then obtained a 99-year lease of the property from the state of Maine. With a donation of time and equipment from a local contractor, the committee volunteers landscaped the property. With the help of a grant from the Maine Community Foundation, a gazebo was erected on the property. In November 2015, the park was officially opened. Since then, community activities have been held in the park. It has become the location for the town Christmas tree. Even Santa Claus came to the park. The park is not only a place for community activities, but overlooks the beautiful St. John Valley, the St. John River, and the province of New Brunswick. However, the view of these was obstructed by a row of mature trees on the opposite side of the railroad tracks. In 2016, a local lumber contractor brought in his equipment and not only harvested the trees, but opened up a magnificent view of the valley. Today, the Frenchville Heritage Park is for both the community and the valley to enjoy a place to relax, a place for a family picnic, but also a place to view the beautiful St. John Valley. This video is about the tree harvesting process that opened up the view from the Frenchville Heritage Park. This is along Main Street in Frenchville, and this is before the tree harvester has gone through. And so far they've done a section in front of the water tower, and this is what the view is after. It's opened up the view for all of the visitors to the Historical Society. Feller Buncher is still out here. They'll be continuing tomorrow to cut down the trees and bushes all the way to the end of the Frenchville Heritage Park. So what kind of machine is this?
It's a filler buncher.
It's a filler buncher.
Yeah.
And what does it actually do? And how does it work? I mean, I see a big, looks like a steam shovel to me.
Well, we usually try to thin out lots. Thin out lots the best we can. We usually random select and cut the bigger the wood, leave the smaller for the reach end. Go with that. Big saw.
So what is it? What is there? A saw in this?
Big saw, yeah.
There's a saw on the end of the end of the boom.
Yeah, I got a saw with 18 teeth on it.
18
carbide teeth.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
it's still in the air. Really? So here, what are you trying to accomplish?
We're gonna wipe out everything, clear out everything for a vision site.
A vision site here.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's a nice view from from the road. You can look onto the river.
We're gonna open the historical site.
That's beautiful. Yes, it is. I know the town has been working pretty hard on the park.
Yes.
And trying to, I mean, it's leveled off now, and it's about just cleaning the view. And
Yes.
so you're here today.
Yeah.
Your name?
John Sosia.
John Sosia. You're from where, John?
Eagle Lake.
You're from Eagle Lake.
Yeah.
So today you're just gonna keep cutting.
I'll work my way from here to the road and then jump the road and go from the other side this way.
Well, perfect. Well, I'm not gonna hold you up anymore. I know this is a big. I know this is a big gig for you. I know. I mean, certainly, I think the park committee has been waiting patiently.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you, John. So, John, what do you do once the logs? Once you cut a tree, what do you do with it at that point?
I lay it down in bunches, and the skidder comes, grabs it, brings it to the limber, and take the branches off.
So right now, so you're going to take all of these. I mean, the machine really does. It just cuts the tree.
I just cut it and pile it.
And pile it off to the side. Then he comes along with a skidder and grabs it and
then limbs it.
And brings it out to a limber somewhere.
Yeah. And they'll cut the tops off, put the tops for biomass for chips. And
so then once the logs have been cut, the branches are in a pile and probably the top of the tree, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Then you come in with a chipper, is that it? And
we
grind it all up.
Yeah. Chip everything in a chip bin, bring it to the chip plants.
So really, nothing is wasted on the tree.
No, our alpha, we don't waste nothing. It's all cut to length and limbed and chipped and gone.
Now in this case here, what trees, what species are you finding?
This is mostly poplar and Balmagillion.
So is there a size that's marketable, or is something that's just a couple
Usually
of inches?
anything 6 inches and up.
As long as it's 6 inches and up,
Usually,
you can get rid of it.
Yeah. The rest goes to the chipper.
The rest just goes to the chipper.
Yeah.
And what do they do with the chips after that?
They bring it to like Re-Energy in Ashland or the chip plant in Fort Fairfield.
So they actually just
for biomass.
They burn it and make electricity out of it. This is great. I mean, we talk about recycling, and it really is recycling at its best. Taking a tree and using all of it. This is the blade to the feller buncher. As you can see, the blade and these huge teeth just grind and cut right through the stump. Now we're starting up the machinery and coming back and starting to clean again. Fellow buncher, just what it does, it just cuts the trees and then he just keeps piling it. And we saw earlier these piles of wood. And the wood will be picked up by a skidder, brought over to a place where it'll be another machine will actually limb off the trees, saving the choice logs, and then the branches and the tops will be ground up and made into chips. Or into chips. The blade spinning. wood looks the color once you're through it. All of these are expected to fall down by fall, by nighttime. The objective here is to clean and make a nice view, clean out all the trees, so that people who come to the Frenchville Heritage Park get a nice view of the St. John Valley, St. John River, and also St. Stade on the other side of the river in Canada. another one of those large trees. You can see it's been cut. He's just moving it like nothing, like a toothpick. Sure that he's got a clear path through the tree. And then is careful not to tip his machine. There's a lot of weight at the end of this tree. By the pile, he's just piling one on top of the other. Make it easy for the grapple skidder. Come along. Bring it towards the delivery. Oh, the last two, real major ones, are big. He's really keeping his eye on those big ones, cutting all the branches all around it. We're now down to 2 trees. It started yesterday at this time. A whole line of trees here. Since these trees are big, he's making sure that he has plenty of room to cut and then make them fall right on the pile. He's actually just going to cut them down. And this is actually one tree. It's got 2. And he's grabbed one. Putting the tree onto the pile. This last one is big. You can see there was a fork in the tree. And you end up having 2 big trees. Wow. The last tree down on the ground. Now all that's left is the stump itself, and I think he's getting ready to trim that off. The machine will only cut 24 inches. And this stump is more than 24 inches. So he's actually had to make 2 passes at it. So now as we look across what he's cut today, this was all scrub brush and clumps of trees. All of them have now been cut. He's opened up this whole section so that people who are in the Frenchville Heritage Park can actually see the river, the flats, the farmland that's here, as well as the province of New Brunswick right across the river. So now he's putting his machine and stopping it. So he's got all of those things cut. And now we've brought in the heavy equipment to delimb the trees that had been cut yesterday. As you can see, the wood has all been cut and piled. We've brought in a skidder, and this is a machine called the delimber, which removes the branches from the trees. So now it's time to take it off the truck. Then the grapple skidder will start hauling wood see, this has got a long arm. Skidder. You can see the delimber is getting close to the edge here where he's going to be setting up to take the branches right off all the trees. The branches will then be shredded and chipped to make biomass to be hauled to a fuel plant where they're going to generate or burn the chips to make electricity. As you can see, the wood has just been piled along the edge of the road. Now he's getting ready to take the trees and start delimbing them. You can see he just grabs the end of the tree, and the boom just cuts all the branches right off. Scrapes off all the branches, and what you've got left is a log. It'll then be cut to size. You can see the chainsaw just cut the end of the log. So now we have a good log that'll be hauled into a mill. He's actually going to pile the logs there, and they'll be sorted by species. Each may go to a different mill. He's actually sorting through the pile because there's some smaller trees that are too small for anything, and he's putting the small ones aside. He's even keeping some of the smaller logs. But the branches themselves are just going to be used, chipped up, and burned as biomass fuel. Of delimbing the tree is going to continue until every tree in the pile has been done. You can see the machine actually just stripping the branches right off. Scrapes off the remaining branches on the way out. And then we'll end up putting the log on the pile, ready for the crane to come along, pick it up, and load it up onto a truck. In the meantime, the skidder is just waiting here with another whole armful of trees to be brought right in front of the delimber. This operation really requires a lot of teamwork. Teamwork on the delimber operator's part, and also on the grapple skidder's part. Small branches are trimmed off. You can see he's got 2 trees right now. One of them still has branches on it. He's scraping them off. Grabs his second log and then puts it on the pile. This may be his last tree in that pile that the skidder brought forward. Now the skidder, as soon as he's done with this tree, the skidder is going to move right in front of the delimber again with the second load. The grapple skidder bringing another load of trees out in front of the delimber. Skidder operator puts the trees right in front of the delimber. It goes back for another load. See how he's just going to grab that whole bunch. Actually, there's a second bunch right next to it, and he's grabbing both of them. The delimber. Wait for the delimber to be done with the other pile. Saw the blade, the chainsaw blade that came down to cut off the top. Now he's just scraping the remaining branches off the log. And then waits until the delimber has finished his last load of trees. comes off the top of the tree. Make sure there's no remaining limbs. And then we'll put the tree onto the pile. Wait for the crane to come in to load all these trees onto a truck and haul them to the mill. In this case, the log was extremely long, so he cut 2 logs out of it. Grabs another tree, and the process just continues, removing the branches. As you can see, he's putting all the branches in one pile. Trees in that last patch were very, very tall. This tree is at least 35 feet tall. That the trees have been cut down, the branches removed, and the logs piled alongside the road, a crane and trucks are brought in to take the logs to a sawmill. This is the first of the 2 trucks that are going to be loaded this morning. The second truck is parked alongside the railroad tracks, out of the way of the crane. As you can see, the logs are quite long. You will also notice that the crane operator carefully puts the trees in the truck. Once he's dropped the first load, he comes back and picks up another group of logs. And carefully places these on the truck. You will note that the operator always starts putting the butt end of the tree closest to the cab of the truck. You will also note that the crane is right in front of the truck, and that the logs have to be passed right over the cab of the truck. It takes a skilled operator to make sure that the logs fall on the trailer and not on the cab. also note that the crane operator places the logs carefully and adjusts them so as they have to meet safety regulations, especially as they drive over the public roads. The front part of the trailer has been filled with logs. They must now readjust the crane as well as the truck so that they can fill the back side of the trailer. Here, the support legs of the crane are being raised off the ground and have been retracted so that they can move the crane. These legs actually support the crane as it lifts the heavy logs. Otherwise, the crane would just tip over. The crane is now backing up, allowing the truck to move forward. The crane will then come to the back of the truck and load more trees to fill the entire trailer. The crane operator now lowers the support legs before starting to load the truck. The logs are now placed with the butt end of the tree flush against the back of the truck. All the logs are carefully adjusted to stabilize the load itself. The top of the tree is now laid so that it overlaps the first pile at the front of the tree. This will balance off the entire load. quite large, and so it doesn't take too much time to fill the trailer on this particular truck. Since there's a limit as to how much each truck can carry on a public road, the crane operator has to fill the truck to make sure that he maximizes the weight of the logs on the truck, but not to go over the legal limit on the road itself. Here the crane operator is loading, making sure that the trees don't over-exceed the support bunks or those bars on the side of the trailer that hold the load together. Trying to keep the trees below the top of the bars. Operator has to be a very skillful person to maximize the load and also maintain the safety of the driver and also the other vehicles that are on the road itself by placing the logs carefully and making sure that they are well secured on the trailer. The operator determines that there's enough trees on the truck. He lowers his crane to the ground, telling the driver that the load is now ready to be secured. And here safety chains are placed over the top of the load to secure the trees in place. A good crane operator always helps the truck driver secure the load in place. At least 3 safety chains are put on a load of logs to meet the transportation regulations across a public road. With the first truck loaded, the trees secured to the trailer, it is now time to take the logs to market. The second truck then backs up to the crane and the loading process will continue. With the second truck in place, the support legs are lowered to the ground and the loading process will then begin. As with the first truck, the logs are going to be stacked on the trailer with the butt end of the tree against the cab of the truck. Once again, the logs are carefully lifted onto the trailer and placed so that the load is stabilized. These are large logs, but they're being placed carefully on the truck. You will also note that the operator is making sure that the trees are below the side bunks on this trailer. The logs are carefully put in place to make sure that they are well secured on the trailer. The operator determines that a few more logs are needed on this front part of the load. The trucks and the crane will then be readjusted so that the reverse side of the load, the back end of the trailer, can then be filled. Crane is then taken out of the road, allowing the trailer to be moved forward. Once the truck has gone by, the crane will reverse, go to the other end of the pile, and wait for the logging truck to come back so that the back end of the trailer can be filled. Logs will then be loaded so that the butt end of the tree just extends on the end of the trailer. Crane operator places each tree carefully to make sure that the load is well balanced and is carefully secured. This load is filling up pretty fast. It won't be long for just a few more remaining trees to be added to this load, which will then be sent to market. operator has determined that there is enough trees on this truck, and that will now lower the boom of his crane to indicate to the driver that the trailer is full and it's now time to secure the load. The driver then adds whatever safety equipment to the trailer to make sure that he feels that the truck is safe to travel over the open road. The safety chains are then put over the load to secure the logs to the trailer. The driver must be conscious of his driving abilities on the road, but also has to make sure that the trailer is well secured for the safety of the other drivers on the road. The crane operator then brings the necessary paperwork to the driver that will be needed when he delivers the load at the mill. Now that the trees have been cut down, the branches removed, the logs piled, and then hauled away, what remains are the branches and the pieces of the trees that are not usable. A chipper is then brought in to take the branches and those pieces of wood and grind them up so that they can be used as biomass fuel. There are three parts to this operation. The first is a crane that actually takes the logs and the branches and the pieces of wood and feeds it into a grinder. The last piece of equipment is a truck that will haul these chips away. Here we see the crane operator collecting all the branches and pieces of wood and then feeding it into the chipper. As the branches go through the chipper, they're ground up into these small wood chips. the steel drum with the teeth that we see inside the chipper are not really the grinders. These teeth just take the branches and the limbs and shove them inside the machine, where another set of knives cut the wood into chips. This chipper will eat anything. Leaves, branches, twigs, and any kind of piece of scrap wood. Once the trees and limbs are ground, the resulting chips are then blown with this fan. They shoot into the back of the truck. There's enough pressure here to take the chips and send them 50 feet to the front of the truck. As you can see, the truck is almost completely filled with these wood chips. Once the truck is full, it will then be taken, driven out, and brought to either Ashland or Fort Fairfield to a plant that produces electricity. The chips will be burned, which will turn generators, providing electricity for the northern part of Maine. All of the branches and the scrap pieces of wood are collected. These will all be chipped and turned into biomass fuel. Everything is collected. Nothing is left to waste. The complete tree is now either turned into logs, with the branches turning into biomass fuel. This is looking inside the chipper. As you can see, the bottom track pulls the tree in, as well as that roller with the teeth on it. They just grab the tree branches and just pull them right in over another set of cutters. The cutters then make the actual chips. all of the trees and branches had now been chipped from this particular site. There's still another pile on the other side of the road. The van and the chipper will now be moved to that second pile. This lumber contractor that has been hired to do the cleanup does an excellent job at making sure that all of the site is cleared after the chipping is done. You will see he is going to be removing the remaining branches, and then we'll take a scrape and actually scrape the ground, collecting the rest of the branches. Wondering how this chipper is moving ahead, it is actually being remote controlled by the fellow sitting in the crane. The chipper is a remote controlled chipper. Truck is now backed up to the chipper. The branches from the second pile will then be chipped, filling the back of the truck. This is the chipper chute that will blow the chips all the way to the front of the truck. One mouthful at a time, the branches are fed into the chipper and ground into wood chips. The truck is almost full, and here we see the size of the chips that are being done by this particular chipper. is now almost full of chips. Occasionally, the branches don't get stuck in the rollers and sometimes need an extra push from the crane operator. The truck is now full of chips. The chipper is stopped and the driver will pick up some paperwork that he will have to bring with him to the chip plant. Paperwork in hand, the truck driver then drives away with a load of chips and will be delivering these at either the Ashland or the Fort Fairfield plant, where they will be burned, generate electricity, and provide power to the northern part of Maine. A complete recycling project. So these are the knives.
Those are the knives. There's six
they're
of
chipper
those.
knives.
Those are chipper knives. There's six of them.
There are six. Are they on a roll?
They're on a big roll and they're like staggered. There, 1, 2, 3, and then further back there's 1, 2, 3. They're staggered.
So it's just regular steel.
A good quality steel there. So they don't. So they don't bend and all that.
Now, do they wear?
Oh yeah, they wear. Like when I dull them out there, he sends them out to a place in Lincoln.
To have
and they'll re-sharpen them.
So you don't sharpen them?
Oh, we don't sharpen them.
You just do. How long do they last?
It depends
on the color.
Like here, it's beautiful. There's no rocks.
No.
There's no rock. In the wintertime, a set of knives will last for 15 loads.
So really, the teeth.
I can show you the drum.
The teeth
see the drum?
in the back. Of course. We never see things like that.
I'll show you the drum. I'll have to watch her step up there. But I'll show you the drum. There.
So now we're on top of the chipper.
Yeah.
And we can actually see the knives. The knives are right there. You can see the holes where the bolts are. And this is what turns and grinds the tree.
That turns and makes the chip there.
Now in the back,
I can lift the back end so you can see the back end too.
So you can actually see the color.
You'll be able to see this in the back.
Now there's no driver's seat on this thing. So what is it? All remote control?
It's all done with this.
It's done with.
It's all done with this little valve.
This is how you control this thing. Going.
That's how I run
starting it.
No, starting it. I got to start it manual. But then after I started manual, I run everything with this. With this little box.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything's done with that little box. But I can go in the back and open that up, and then you'll see that end of it.
Yeah, let's go have a look.
The end of that drum.
Now the chipper is being started so that we can open up the back and see the inside blades.
Now just press the button so I got control with this.
what the chips look like.
So this is how the chip looks. That's coming out of the chipper. Now what does it do with branches? I mean small branches. It just grinds it
It
up.
still makes a little chip.
Makes a little chip.
It still makes a little chip. Yeah. You'll try to make a little chip. Yeah. Reverse. I can't go forward there.
And all controlled by this box.
By that. Yeah.
Very, very good, John.
I can stop it if I want. All control.
It's all controlled. The only thing you can't do is start it.
The only thing I can't do is start it.
Start it.
And start my clutch for the drum to start turning. I got to do that manual and I got to stop it. But besides that, I can go forward, go back, do anything with the box. Yeah.
So is it a diesel engine or it's not a diesel? It's a diesel engine. 700 horsepower.
And when it's running there, you'll use at least 10 gallons an hour.
10 gallons.
At least, yeah. When it's chipping.
Now, how big a tree does it take?
I would say 24 inches, about that.
24 inches.
Yeah.
It'll take a tree 24 inches
Yeah. Yeah.
and it doesn't slow down when it's a big tree.
Not a whole lot.
Not a lot.
If it does, like I said, it has like a hiccup and you'll back it up and go back ahead there.
How far does, we saw the chute at the front. It goes, how far does it shoot?
Well, a box is, the boxes they have there I think are 48 feet. So it's shooting at least 48 feet. And it shoots it quite hard in the front.
Right
of the
in the
truck
front.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise then you'd have a,
Yeah.
it would be only half
So I
full
would
at the
say
front.
if you probably go ahead with it, you'd probably go 150 feet, which is quite a way.
Are there some trees that are easier to chip?
Like this.
The Bomagilians.
Bomagilian is easy. It's a soft tree.
It's a soft tree. What's the hardest?
You wouldn't think it, but it's a beech. I find a beech.
A beech is hard.
Yeah.
How about yellow birch?
Yellow birch is not that. It's hard there.
It's hard.
But it chips pretty good.
Yeah, 'cause I always say,
Any hardwood.
any hardwood will take.
Like a rock maple or anything like that. It's gonna chip hard. Cedar.
So how many years have you been working on this?
On the chipping part of it? Oh, it must make 7 years.
7 years you've been on the chipper.
Yeah. You had another chipper before this one and now this one. Yeah, about 7 years.
So, and you everywhere's in the valley.
Everywhere's in the valley. Yeah, just about everywhere. Every little town, every little corner, everywhere.
Well, it's especially these days.
Yeah, we did that. Well, that I did up there when we had the processor. Where that tower.
Oh, up where the tower is. That's right. I remember that.
We did that. We had a processor. You had a processor then. I did that with a processor up on that hill.
Up on the hill, the tower in Frenchville.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like with Sherby, he does a lot of small woodlots.
Yeah.
That's, well, this
We've
is.
been around.
I can see. Yeah, you've been around.
We've been the Grand Isle area and all that. We've been quite a bit in that area too. Daigle, not far from your house. Up across, up above where the church used to be there.
Yes, up on the hill, huh?
Yeah. We've been there.
This is.
We've
Wow.
been everywhere.
This is the story of the chipper. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, taking all this wood, the logs have been salvaged. Now it's just the tops and the branches. They're fed into this machine, the chipper, and the chips are hauled, in this case, down to Ashland or Fort Fairfield, where they are used as biomass fuel to generate electricity. And then we end up having to pay for it again.
Then you pay back for it. Yeah.
Well, John, thank you. This is more than this has been great. I mean, this
Appreciate
operation.
it if you picked up anything.
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
People don't see this.
Yeah.
You know, where you do this out in the woods, and there's a safety factor here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have people walking around this equipment. There's a lot of moving parts and trees
a lot
flying.
of moving parts. That's why they've got usually signs on the side of it about what distance you should be.
Yes, and
Just for their own safety.
it's for safety. You know, I mean, this is, but at least seeing this now, you know, people can see this and understand the kind of work that you're actually doing. And in this case, it certainly has improved the view here in Frenchville
sure.
along the Heritage Park.
Yeah, I'm sure that.
It has a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, but thank you, John. This has
Okay.
been good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And this is the end of the wood processing, the wood harvesting and processing here at Frenchville Heritage Park. What you have left are a few stumps and a few branches. The view has been improved 1,000%. Suddenly, the people along the highway can actually see a good part of Canada, the Flats, and the St. John River.